Hey everybody, welcome. What are you doing?
Scorsese.
What? You're not Scorsese. Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Steve. This is my son Bryson, and we are not concrete guys. So this video is for entertainment purposes only. I don't know where you live, what town, state, whatever. They might do things different where you are, but this is how we're gonna do this in this video. So you're either gonna like it or you're gonna hate it, but either way, it should be entertaining because we don't know what we're doing. Okay, so the last video I did on this shop build, I wouldn't call it a shop series. It's basically I'm building a barn. I don't really want like an industrial looking building at my house. So I'm basically decided to build it like a barn. My town's pretty lenient. I did have a comment. Someone asked me how I'm able to run a business out here. Well, I don't really run my business out of here. I just park a few things here. Okay, so according to the plot plan, I gotta be 55.81 off of the center of my house with this corner. We're just gonna double check that because you never know. These probably got bumped. That one, I pushed that one down with the excavator as I was digging so I could track over it because I had the tracks over here. So these are all the footing boards. My neighbor, a couple houses down, has a sawmill. They have a tree company and a sawmill. That's another reason why I'm able to do stuff in my neighborhood is because the whole entire neighborhood is loaded with contractors. So one of them has a sawmill and he cut me these boards back in April. And I left them outside. They were all piled up and they were holding water between the stacks. So my youngest son, he works for a paving company and he still wants to be a part of this. And last night, what him and I did is we laid out all these boards. I think I paid $500 for him to saw all these. They are 12 inches tall and they're 1.5 inch thickness pine boards. And they're all different lengths. Because I told him, don't worry about the ends. I just told him the overall linear board feet that I need. So like that one there was like the butt end of a log. Basically, what he did is he measured down from the square part to the next square part. So I'm probably gonna have to like get the skill saw and cut some of those off. So you might be thinking like, what makes you think you're qualified to do concrete forms work, whatever? Well, I drove a cement truck for about 8 months. And I poured in a lot of these, and I watched a lot of these guys put these together. So just watching somebody do something from the inside of a cab with a big chute in front of your face, blocking your view, that should be good enough, right? All kidding aside, I'm not qualified to do this for like a customer or anything. This is my house, and I want to DIY try it. I think there's like a sense of pride in like saying to your grandkids, hey, here's the pictures, look what Grandpa did years ago, you know, if I stick around here in Massachusetts that long, but it's looking that way. So I'm gonna give it a whirl and we'll see what happens. So a lot of these boards were soaking wet and I wanted to let them dry out. They were starting to stain a whole bunch, which I don't really care because the plan is after I strip the footings of these boards, I'm going to cut them with the table saw, rip them down, and then I'm gonna use them to brace up the wall boards. Once I do the walls and then everything's done and poured, I'm gonna probably strip I can't talk right. I'm having a hard time talking because it's like, I don't know, 90%. It's like, I'm having a hard time talking. I keep stuttering over my words because of the humidity. It is so hot out here, it's hard to even catch my breath. It's just pure humidity. It's probably 90% humidity. So bear with me here a second. Okay, so I didn't want to go to like Home Depot or Lowe's or any lumber place and pay top dollar for like good boards, you know, like kiln dried boards or whatever, because it's just footing boards. After I'm done with the footings, my plan is to rip these all through the table saw, and then I'm going to, you know, I mean, I got to bang all the concrete off with a hammer the best I can and then rip them through the table saw. That blade will probably be junk by the time we're done, but so what? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip them down into like, you know, like 2x strips, and then we're going to use them to brace up the walls. And then once all of that's done and I strip everything and we are completely done with forming and the concrete's poured, I'm probably going to put them all in a pile and just burn them. So there's no point in buying good boards. And I don't plan on doing concrete work because it's bull work. My hat's off to the guys that do it. The other thing too is I would never want to do a customer's job because I am very slow at this because I don't know what I'm doing. So it wouldn't really be cost effective for me to do it. So I'll tell you right now, while we're talking about price of everything, I did get quotes on having someone pour this. And the foundation for this garage, all said and done, the cheapest quote I got was $31,000. So as of right now, I'm this far into the project, minus fuel from digging. Obviously, I would have had to pay that anyways because concrete guys don't do the digging, so can't count that. So let's just count the boards and the concrete work as one. So as of right now, I'm into it for, I don't know, let's just call it like 800 bucks. That's a safe bet because I did get a couple miscellaneous stuff like a plumb bob from the hardware store. So the size of this barn is going to be 52 long and 32 wide. Now everybody's always like, oh, go as big as you can, go bigger, go bigger. Problem with that is how you're going to turn around in here. I mean, where you're going to keep your equipment. I mean, you don't want a giant building taking up your entire property. And then the other thing you got to think about, I live in a high tax area. So the bigger you make it, the more you're going to get taxed on it. And if you're not careful, you'll tax yourself right out of here and you'll have to move in a few years. And then the other thing too is resale value. If I ever decide I want to get out of Massachusetts and I want to sell this place, I talked to my friend who's a really successful realtor, and he said if you make something too big, someone who's retiring or whoever, they might want to put like a sailboat or a boat in it, and if you make it too big, they're going to be looking at taxes also. So you got to keep resale in mind. It's just enough for us to get something inside there. The biggest thing we have, we can get that in there and the 2 trucks, I think, and a bunch of other stuff. I'll map this all out. I figured this all out with the architect. I went around and measured the equipment. I measured the trucks. And I can get almost all my stuff tucked in there if I don't go crazy with like tool benches and stuff. So as far as why it's 52 and not 50 and 32 not 30, that was my architect. He said something about like cut off pieces when you get to the end and everything. I am not a builder, so I just took his word for it. Okay, so I want to get going on this before I pass out from this heat. First thing that the boy and I have to do is we actually have to find this corner inside the hole. I don't trust these offsets anymore. You know, they're more like guidelines. Normally during excavation, we will dig the hole, then we leave, and then we don't ever see it, but the surveyors come back and then they pin what's called pinning the bottom of the hole. However, I've already paid them like $2,000 to survey the property, and they didn't even stake this out. It was just $2,000 for them to come out and do this plot plan that I have with a little piece of paper to submit to the town for my building permit. So I don't want to pay them another $2,000 to come out and do this. Also, in my town, I'm not required to. I just have to get it almost precise, and then at the end, they require me to do an as-built. So at the end, I have to pay the surveyor $2,000 to come out with his GPS-y thing and boop the corners and as-built and do an as-built form, card, whatever. We used to call them cards, but they're forms now. I have to do an as-built to submit to the town for the final, showing where it actually ended up. So, all right, real quick, this is what we did. I went and got a plumb bob, okay? And this is a 1/10 tape measure. So it's 55 feet and 0.8 and then 1 out from the house. So what we did was we held the tape measure out, then we took the plumb bob, and then we went down to the ground with this and waited for it to stop and held it. And then I let it make a little dot, and then I got this rebar, and I'm gonna pound this rebar all the way in, but I got this level. That way I can make sure it's perfectly straight and not leaning this way or that way, because we could, you know, pound this in and lose an inch if we lean out a bit. So that's what we're gonna do for this corner, and then we're gonna work off of this corner And I think we're gonna work off of that corner over there and maybe a midpoint from the house to make sure this front wall is square with the house, because according to the plans, that's how it's supposed to be. So once we get this front wall perfectly squared with the house, then we can square the rest of the square with it. And that's what I'm going with. Is that the right way to do it? No, absolutely not. The right way to have been write a big check for like 20 grand and sit on my back deck with a cold drink and watch the forum guys bust their balls. But we don't have that option right now. I mean, I could have, but where would the videos come from? Okay, so it's been a few hours later. A lot of cussing, a lot of back and forth with everything, and we got it squared. However, I kind of goofed digging the hole, because it's my hole. I was digging blind back here. I really didn't paint any lines towards the end because I was hot and tired. So as you can see, I kind of squirreled in a little over here, and basically this corner is like cutting it close. I put my paint marks of where the offset stake was, and then they're right in line with the string. I don't know, you guys probably can't see on camera the string line, but we used two squares. That square, T-square. I got a bunch of spikes, string. I used this T-square, and then we went and 3-4-5'd all the corners. And then the last corner I left the spikes in so I could show you the 3-4-5 method. So if you want to square up your corner, basically, you know, you'll go 3 feet out this way, and oh, I'm pulling on it. Yeah, that one's not in the ground very good. But basically, you go 3 feet one way, 4 feet the other way, and if you diagonal them, let me see if I can get this tape to cooperate. You know, if you diagonal these, come on, stay on there for me, will you? You know, basically you're at 5. Now, I've been wiggling this. Look at this thing's pretty wiggly, but you get the point. So, this is the last corner we did with the 3-4-5. This wall's fine. This wall's fine. Also, right across the midpoint stake, I pulled the midpoint stake out because that stake, I ran the tape to the corner of the house. And then I got the measurement out to here. Then I had him take the tape and go down past the side of the house, and I squared it up so that we were, you know, like this. So I went far past the side of the house, and then I had him go to the middle of the side of the house. So if that makes sense to you, like if you're looking at the sideways this way, go to the middle, and then I took the tape out here and I brought it in like this, just so it barely touched the house, and then brought it out and double checked, and we were spot on. So let's do this one since it's up there. Some of them were waterlogged and they were very heavy. They're starting to dry out a little though. We've been getting all this rain. It's weird because we get rain showers and then we get massive amounts of humidity. Yesterday was miserable. I'm not going to film all of it, but I'm going to show you with this one board. This is what I've been doing. I've been finding the point where it goes straight all the way across and just cutting off their chainsaw mark. It'd help if I was square. 1, 2, 3. It'd help if I unlock it. So I only cut off this, and now the board is square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and cut all of these, and then I'll bring you back and we'll start setting these things up, and I'll show you how I'm going to set them up. This is as far as I got for an amateur. I'm actually pretty happy with it, considering I took half the day riding around trying to find things. Got stuck in the beautiful Cape Cod Bridge traffic. I'm actually really tired. I don't know how you concrete guys do it. My hat's off to you. So I went to go to this concrete place, concrete supply place, to get that metal band strap stuff. I couldn't even make it there. I had to turn around because of the traffic. So I ended up going to the hardware store, and for now I'm just temporarily using these like little shelf brackets. I know that's kind of laughable, you know, for the pros, but it's all I got for now. I ordered a roll of that stuff. When it comes here next week and we continue, you'll see what I'm saying. But it is what it is. It's just holding the corner together for now. And then I've been pounding the strapping in and putting some screws in it. But what I do is I have somebody hold the laser on the top, and then I adjust the height and shove some screws through it. So basically you can see how now you can get a good idea of how I screwed up by digging. I was going pretty good, but then I started digging the whole blind, like right about there. There was no paint. Well, actually, there was no paint down this whole inside. And I'm, you could drive a golf cart, like Austin Powers could turn his golf cart around in here. Which is okay, I'm okay with it. I'm actually glad I overdug it, you know, being a amateur wannabe concrete person at the moment. This has actually been really helpful, having all this extra room for activities. So it's a 10-inch wall, it's 24-inch footing. So being that that is the outside of the wall, because I have that string line running down, and every now and then I pick that string up and snap it just to make sure it's still, you know, good, because I put it down low so I could use the tape measure, like so, because 10-inch wall and then 7 inches of on either side of the wall for the footing. So I'm using the tape measure to like separate these boards and get them where they need to be. So when I do the inside board, it's 17, and then when I go this way, it's 7, and that's gives us the 24-inch wide footing. And then I take the laser and then I put it right on, you know, the corners. But the reason I didn't put those stakes like in the corner is because I'm gonna get boards on the outside. Probably gonna cut some of these extra boards I have, or take some of the cut off pieces and screw across that seam to hold them together. And then I'm gonna use that strap, that metal strap stuff, the band stuff. I'm gonna slide it under all the way across the bottom and then wrap it up and over it, and then we'll hold it together like that. So when you do this, you really want to have your string coming off the outside, not off the inside. So when you wrap your string, I actually have two pieces of string here because I ran out, had to get another roll. So this one here comes off the corner on the outside and goes that way down the front wall. And then this string here comes off this and goes that way. And you want to make sure that all 4 of your spikes or whatever you're using is the same. Honestly, the hardest part is pounding these pieces of strapping into the ground. I mean, this looks like sand on the top, but I'm telling you, I've hit some rocks, and when you hit a rock with this piece of strapping, even though I put like a point on them, I mean, it just obliterates it, and it don't want to go anymore, and you hit it a couple more times, and it's just, that's it. That's all she wrote. However, financially, it is significantly cheaper than those spikes. It doesn't really matter that your boards are not all the same length. You just keep going with your boards. Technically, some may argue that it's better to stagger your seams anyways. It helps if you have 2 hands. It is late. For the last few hours, my wife's been helping me because my son had somewhere to go. She's tired. I'm making her help me. I'm not making her, I asked her, okay? Come on, get in my, dirty hole. top.
There you go.
Perfect. All right. All right. So now what I do is take my tape measure, I turn it around, and I put it right here, like so, and at the 7 mark. Then what I do is I come over here, drag the board forward with one hand, get it lined up, make sure I'm there, make sure nothing's on the string. That's important. And then what I'll do is just bring this in like so. Then before I pound the stakes in, I'll come down here, see how it's out. If it's out down here, it'll affect up there. So I'll move it out more. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. Come on. So, right like that. And then what I do is stake me. What I like to do is hold it with my feet. And then I start on a like slight angle. And then as it gets in the ground, I pull it in. Because if not, if you start, like I'll show you on the inside, if you start flush, it tends to like go out like that. It's weird, I know, but. And the whole time, see, there's a rock. And then as soon as you get actually in the ground a little bit, you pull it forward and against the board and it goes flat. And then what I'm gonna do after I get that other stuff is I'm gonna adjust the tops across and then screw through that that metal I don't know what to call it, strapping. Metal strapping. So this is the hard part because believe it or not, even though it looks like it's all sand here, you'll be going along and then you hit a rock. And if I miss right now, that's gonna hurt. Whoa. There we go. So, tight against there. I got 7 inches. And now all we have to do is fix our height. That's pretty much it. If it's low, you just raise it up a little bit and right through. If it's high, you scrape a little dirt out, go down till it tones. I like to go just a hair above flat tone. That way if it settles a little bit, because things always settle. I don't care what anyone says. Always just a hair above flat tone. And then once you get it all set all the way around, you could go around and just tap them all down and double check. Once you get everything 100% done, just go around and just lightly smack with it. But it's gonna rain in here and everything, so like I said, slightly above, flat tone is good for me. We're splitting hairs here, literally. So it's important, in my mind, to get your footings as close to perfect as you can. That way it makes it easier for you to do your wall. I once saw a company, I used to do, commercial excavation, and I was working for a company. We were doing low-income housing condo complex, and they got to the top, and they were off. And we all knew that they were going to be off because their footings were terrible. So they had to bring in a bunch of guys with grinders, and they had to grind the top of the wall. I'm trying to avoid that here, especially where I'm not a professional. So I'm going to try to get this almost as perfect as I can. All right, that's the end of day 1. That's as far as I've made it. plan is tonight, I'm just going to shut this off. I'm going to take the head off of that, and I'm going to put that in the box and, put it in the house. But I'm going to leave the legs right where they are. I got another set of legs, so if I have to use this on the job next week, actually, no, I don't. Those are different legs. Crap. Might have to take those. Whatever. We'll just shoot the top of the board, and we'll go from there next week sometime, which is right now for you. Yeah, it's been a few weeks. I haven't worked on this at all, but I've been super busy. So all the boards are set. Some of them are warping. I gotta adjust them, but I've been putting the rebar in here, and I'm gonna have to blow the leaves out of here. All I've been doing with the rebar is just taking it and just putting my foot. They're 20 footers. Those ones are. I got more on the truck, 10 footers. I just went and got at Home Depot. It's Saturday today. So I've just been putting them on the ground and then sticking my foot on them where I want to bend them and just pulling them up, because I don't really care if it's a perfect 90-degree bend. I'm just doing a sweeping bend. Rebar's strength is in linear, like pulling this way and that way. There's no strength to it side to side. Basically, your rebar, with all those ridges on it, grabs the concrete when it gets, poured around there, and it has pulling power. So the pulling power is this way. It has no side-to-side strength whatsoever. It's that's why you put it the long way in places you don't want to pull apart and crack. I gotta do some more of these things in places, and then probably take these off, because I'll probably just put a long nail through there. I got these just to hold the corners while I was setting it up, but those will never hold during the pour, so I'll probably just put some nails through the end there. Then I put some on the outside, some of the bands. I've been doing this at night, in the dark. That's why I haven't been filming a lot. Plus, I actually haven't done a lot, just because I've just been so busy. What I want to do now is I want to tie all the rebar together, and I don't have any fancy tying gun or, whatever, because let's face it, I'm never going to do this again. So I'm not going to buy fancy tools, but we got to tie that together. Got to tie those two. You can get the little chairs for those to sit in, or the little cups or whatever, the plastic ones. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hang all this rebar from the strapping, because I got to put strapping across anyways. Alright, so this is the wire I'm going to hang the rebar from. Got a little rusty, but that's alright. And then this are the ties I bought a long time ago that were in my shed, and they are not rusty. These are the ties. They make fancy guns. All the concrete guys I know have the fancy guns that zip these through together really fast. Or you could buy the little rolly thing. It's like a handle with a hook. I just went to Home Depot because the rebar place I got the 20 footers from a steel yard. They're not open. So I got all these 10s because I was gonna keyway the footing, because you really don't need upright rebar. But I'm paranoid, so I'm gonna do it instead of the keyway. So normally, because this is not a tall wall, and it gets backfilled on both sides of the wall, so there's no side-to-side shift, you can get away with just putting a 2x4 in the top of the mix, and then after you pour, you pull it out, and there's a keyway in it. A lot of guys do that. I should be doing that because it's way easier, and because I'm backfilling both sides. But I'm paranoid, and it's my building, and it's just my time to do it, and peace of mind of knowing that I went overboard. So I'm just gonna go overboard and put a lot of rebar in there. They are sharp, so you gotta have, you know, tough hands. This ain't for soft hands, soft fingers, that's for sure. This type of work. So that's not that bad. I'm gonna go down here and do all the rest, and then we'll see where we're at. And yeah, it's hot out, so I'm gonna put my hat on. It is really hot. What does that say? Made in China. Geez, who would have thought?